Hey gang, it's Bryan from FX Billiards. There are certain things that are going to come up in the comment section or in my email at least once every month. And one of those things is, Bryan, I can shoot a short draw shot. I can even shoot a mid-range draw shot. But when I shoot a long draw shot, I scoop the ball. Why is that? Why do you scoop the ball on that shot? Well, you're probably doing one of 5 things wrong. So let's take a look. Let's take the obvious things out first. Chalk. I think it's hilarious that every time somebody miscues, I don't care what their level is. You could be a flat-out beginner, you've only been playing for 2 weeks, or you could be Earl Strickland. When you miscue, what do? You go, you look at the tip, you apply chalk, you get out the tip tool, you start working on the tip. I see guys on the sidelines of the US Open working on their tip. You're telling me that you didn't make that tip in the proper shape? You didn't rough it up before the match of your life came up? Don't blame the tip. Number one thing is usually not chalk. It's your stroke. You scoop the ball because you're hitting the ball under the ball instead of at the bottom of the ball. Under the ball instead of at the bottom. But let's get back to the tip for a second. If your tip does not have chalk on it, because you don't chalk up on a regular basis, or you're using cheap chalk that your last shot just took all the chalk off the tip, and now it's not there anymore, and you chalk up every other shot or whatever, it's not there. Yes, you may miscue because of that. Chances are it wasn't because of the chalk, because I can shoot a lot of these draw shots with a phenolic tip that has never seen chalk ever and manage to pull off the shot. So it is not about chalk on the tip. That chalk is important, very important, but it's usually not the reason you're miscuing. Is your tip in good shape? Your tip should have a curve that looks like the curve of a dime or a nickel. Anything flatter than that, you have a misshaped tip. It needs to be corrected with a tip tool. My favorite tip tool is called Last Forever Tip Tool. There will be a link. There's always a link in every one of my videos to this thing. It is the best thing ever to shape your tool. The reason you want it to have a curve is because the shape of the tip needs to match the shape of the ball. The curve in your tip is what allows it to hit the ball in the proper space and do different things with this ball. If your tip is flat, only a very small portion of that tip is actually touching the ball and is touching it in a bad way. So, chalk, tip, first 2 things. Number 3, you probably don't have the mid-range draw shot yet. If you're miscuing on your long draw shot, I have to ask you, are you miscuing when you have a mid-range draw shot? Because if you are, you probably don't have the stroke for the long draw shot. What does that mean? It means that you're not hitting the cue ball with the accuracy needed to put the backspin on that ball from a mid-range distance or a long distance, especially a long distance. So you probably don't have the stroke, and that is one of the reasons why you are scooping the ball. That's why you're missing it on the longer shots and not on the shorter ones. You've got a mid-range shot because you've got that stroke down. You keep your body still, you stay down, you follow through, you do all of those good things. But the second you think the shot is longer and you're trying harder, it's like a spider web, guys. The slightest motion in your shoulder that is not usually there, the slightest drop in your elbow that is not usually there. A lot of really good players drop their elbow during the shot. That's fine if that's the norm, but if you're doing something that is extra, all right, I call it flinching. That's the best way for me to round it in, to cover a lot of different bases. Any flinch at all is enough for you to get under this ball and cause it to scoop, and that is probably the reason you are scooping the ball. Another cause for scooping the ball is your grip on the cue. If you have too tight a grip on the cue, what is happening is the cue is not floating in your hand, okay? It's moving up and down with your stroke itself. And a lot of times when people are trying to shoot a longer draw shot or try to draw the ball further, they tense up. So it's a little bit different than flinching in that your body is not moving necessarily, but your grip hand is moving. Hitting the ball harder is not your solution, okay? You are hitting it hard because you're not hitting it low enough. The guy that has to slam the ball to draw it back 12 inches does not have the draw shot yet. Yes, he can draw the ball back, but he's hitting it too high. He's not hitting it properly. You need to be able to hit this ball as low as possible with your cue, as level as possible, with good follow through. If you have especially cheap chalk, you should see a 6 to 8 inch streak on the table, because the bottom of your tip is most likely making contact with the table while the top of your tip is making contact with the bottom of the ball. Guys send me videos. Bryan, I'm hitting it at the very bottom, and I don't understand why it won't draw back. I'm hitting it at the very bottom. And then when I slow the video down 20 times to find out where they are actually hitting it, you find out that there are 2 tips, sometimes 3 tips, sometimes they're near the center of the ball is where they're actually hitting it. But they start out with their warm-up strokes all the way down the bottom, and then the tip moves up, or it moves down, even worse, when they go to shoot the ball. And that is going to cause you to have 1 or 2 things happen. You either can't draw the ball back, or you're scooping it. So shorten your bridge, allow yourself to hit the ball at the very bottom without hitting under it. Work on keeping your cue as level as you can, okay? When we say level, it doesn't do this. There's a thing here, okay? It prevents you from having it totally level. And if you're up against the rail, yes, we jack up for draw shots, okay? I've seen videos where in the comments somebody says, well, he says I should have a level cue, but look at, he's jacked up on his draw shot. Yes, there are draw shots that we have to jack up because the edge of the table don't allow us to do it. When we say level, we mean as level as possible with good follow through, hitting the ball at the bottom without hitting under the ball, and focus on these things. And last tip, make your bridge shorter. I know you see a lot of us with these long bridges. These are power bridges. These longer bridges put a lot more power behind the ball. You don't need more power at this point. If you're scooping the ball, what you need is more accuracy. And a shorter bridge will give you more accuracy. Okay? Check out this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Have a great day, and practice your draw shots. If you're not ever able to execute them, hit them lower and slower. I tell guys all the time, lower and slower, and stop trying to draw the ball 7 feet if you can't draw it 30 inches, okay? Just doesn't make any sense.